Welcome to Sadot. We're in Revelation chapter 4, and we want to look at verses 6 and 7. It's the concept of the four living creatures isn't there. It's just four living. It's understood to be creatures based on like Genesis chapter 1, which we can look at. And this is not a new concept of the living creatures. So we'll be looking back in Ezekiel, where we've seen this, and also looking forward to the seals that are introduced by each of these living creatures to give us further identification, such as the four directions and four colors that they're connected with. So let's take a look. Ask God to reveal this to us. The spiritual can be a bit difficult since it's not something we can depend on our human sight for. So let's just read this paragraph here. And before the throne was a sea of glass, like the appearance of crystal, and in the midst of the throne and around the throne. So they can be in the throne at the same time. We're learning that from the throne is proceeding voices and thunders and lightnings. Lightning's going to be significant when we get to Ezekiel because they move like lightning and they kind of look more like lightning because they're full of fiery eyes. So in the midst of the throne and around the throne were four living creatures. When we looked at the passage of the Lamb, he is in the midst of the throne and the living creatures and the elders. So only the elders are surrounding the throne. They're not also in the midst of the throne. But these creatures are both in the midst of the throne and around the throne. They are full of eyes at the front and at their back. And the first living creature was like the appearance of a lion, and the second like an ox, and the third like a man, and the fourth like an eagle. When we get to Ezekiel, these creatures were all each the same, so each had four faces, and the one that had the face of an ox, that one changed to a cherub in chapter 10, so a little interesting there. And each one had 6 wings, and also from the inside they were filled with eyes, and they do not have rest day or night, but say continually, Kadosh, 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 is Yud-He Waw-He Tsevaoth, the mighty, who was and is and will be. In chapter 1, no, that's correct, was, is, and will be. So here's our footnotes for crystal. Achlama. People might have thought this was red or brown jasper, but he's saying it clearly can't be because it says it's clear. When it says their appearance, it's literally their faces, but it can mean like to the presence of. So like their overall appearance. Cat's pushing buttons. And then the number 4, we're going to look at Ezekiel, number 5, Kadosh. In Hebrew, the word for armies, okay, number 5 means set apart. It's something that is holy. Kadosh is set apart for a specific purpose. Now, Tsevaoth, that means armies or of hosts. So the full name title is Yud-He Waw-He Elohai Tsevaoth, the Elohim of armies. And he gives examples there. And mighty can mean majestic. Okay, so now we can go forward to the 4 horsemen in chapter 6. So it does not specify for the first seal which living creature is speaking, except that here it's saying like one voice, the 4 of them like one voice. And it's going to be kind of like the only one that's not introducing a specific seal is the lion. So he's like the leader, the first one. So The standards, we'll look at the standards of the 12 tribes and the 4 firstborn. So the first one is Judah, which is a lion, and his encampment is to the east. So when Messiah comes, he's supposed to come from the east. The opening of the tabernacle is from the east, so it's going to go from east to west. And the order listed in Ezekiel is going to be different, that we can see. So the 4 living creatures saying like one voice, and it's a white horse. So this lion, possibly this lion, it's all 4 at once, connected with white. And when the second seal was opened, so Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph, all of these like one, their encampment is on the west. So like the firstborn getting the double portion here, it's east and west, like Israel and America, like this whole east and west. Like I see it all the way to America, but this second living creature, so we learned the second one is the calf, the ox, and we'll tie that in with Ephraim, whose encampment was on the west. So the west is where the Holy of Holies is, and it's tied in with a red horse, so a red calf. It's connected there. And then the third one, now we're going to go south, which is going to be tied in with black and with Manasseh, whose symbolism is a mandrake. I don't know what else it would be, but like a man-faced. A mandrake is somewhat man-looking, like the roots of it. A little bit distorted there. And then the fourth one, which would be the eagle or Dan, also tied in with like a serpent, a speckled or a pale-faced is the colors there. So let's look at our verses now. This is to show you how high is used and understood for creatures. It just means lives. Well, this one is just life. And he said, God, bring out the earth, soul. So we also have a soul. Animals have a soul. Soul of life. 2 kinds of her. Then it says cattle. So what kinds of soul of life? We've got cattle, the behemoth, and the creeping things, and the high plural. This one's singular, plural says singular. High plural, the lives of the earth. And it's translated as beasts of the earth or beasts of the field, but really it just says lives of the earth. 2 kinds of her, and it existed thus. So now let's take a look at the orders of the tribes. So the first encampment to go out to lead the way would be Moses, the priest, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun, led by Judah, who gets the inheritance of the firstborn. These were not natural firstborn. I think Dan was a natural firstborn and Reuben was a natural firstborn. So they'd sound the trumpet, and Judah would go out first, and then the other ones would follow. So Judah first symbolized as a lion, and then next, like the second horseman, he's going to Ephraim, who's symbolized as a calf and connected with the red, and then to the south, Reuben, the mandrake, unless there's a better symbol, connected with the south, and those who are with him. And then to the north, Dan can be like a serpent, an eagle. They have multiple symbols. So that's this. And here's some more. See, they're not always agreeing. Here's Dan with a serpent, and Judah consistently gets a lion. Reuben here is for I think it's like on the water. The water is usually associated with him. And Joseph here, for some reason, with a palm tree. And here's again, Dan. Here's a good one for Ephraim, because you can see, for some reason, he's got a unicorn here, but Ephraim with a calf. Manasseh here at least got a calf. Reuben, that must be their image of a mandrake. And Judah with a lion. And so we got Judah and Joseph here with grapes now. Dan with as a judge. So it's like the north is kind of where the angels, like the Anunnaki, settling in that area of the north, and they like the colder weather. At least that's how the tale went. And they're like the judges over the earth, at least originally. So Dan kind of taking this place. He's not listed as the 12 tribes in chapter 7, but he still has this place. He'll judge as one of the tribes. So it's kind of like the angels maybe being grafted in, and like that connection there. So then we have Judah, like a lion. I don't know if there's any connection with like dragons, because they don't have the slit. I think anything that has a slit in the eye is connected with dragons, like cats though do. But anyway, like there could have been that corrupt form, because it's interesting, like Asia might be connected with dragons. And then the calf is with Joseph, with his two sons are Ephraim and Manasseh. And then the south was Reuben, and they've got a flower here, because I guess people don't really know what gets translated as a mandrake, what that is. There's what pictures of mandrakes are, so like that's our closest connection to a man-faced, and a lot of that man-faced stuff probably comes from Harry Potter, but anyway, that's that there. And then there's like, so they obviously were camped according to 4 directions, and this kind of can be seen in other people. I was trying to think, trying to find one that I had heard, like it was like an Indian speaking, that the land was settled according to 4 spirits, and I don't know if like it was an eagle in the north and certain colors associated with that. But here, like I was trying to find it and I wasn't finding it good, but at least you can see that there is this tradition of the 4 directions and being settled according to that. And here's another one, the 4 directions. And so now we should be ready. We're seeing that there's a sea of glass, that at this time it's saying of sapphire, which is blue, but it's as clear as the sky itself. And this is found in the Torah, when the 70 elders went up and they saw God and did not die. It's a little bit of a contradiction, that it says we can't see God, and yet they did see God. And it says if you see God, you will die, and yet they did not die. So now we're ready for Ezekiel. Chapter 1 goes into this in great detail, and also chapter 10. So he's going to be having this vision. Then I looked, and behold, a whirlwind was coming out of the north, a great cloud with raging fire engulfing itself. North could, I don't know if it just means up here. Maybe he's in the southern direction looking north. And brightness was all around it, and radiating out of its mist like the color of amber. So here's the color of amber. Out of the midst of the fire. Also, from within it came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. Each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings. First of all, I think it was like the Book of the Secrets of Abraham or something, where almost maybe had that imagery, or like the vision or something of Abraham. where he's caught up to this highest heaven, maybe, and like God's throne. Might have to look this one up too, because I think it was good. Where you might be able to picture it like as his chariot as an entire planet. So like, don't think he's sitting on this little chair. Like old thrones, there would be like maybe 70 steps going up to it. For example, Joseph had to learn 70 languages, and each language he was able to demonstrate, he would go up another step to Pharaoh. So that must have been a very high throne. So from within it came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. So they all, it seems like their body is a man. Like they have hands of a man, it keeps saying. But then they also have 4 faces. Each one had 4 faces, and each one had 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and the soles of their feet were like the soles of calf's feet. They sparkled like the color of burnished bronze. The hands of a man were under their wings on their 4 sides, and each of the 4 had faces and wings. Their wings touched one another. The creatures did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward. So like the standards of the camp, they're all keep facing the same direction. So if they're moving north, then the one that's being able to see right is the eagle. And if they're moving east, then the one being able to see is the lion. So they have these 4 faces. They don't need to turn. And so they just go, and they're also synchronized with each other. I saw a UFO, and it looked like it was like 3 lights with a light in the middle is how you see them. But there was like this one light that was just staggered behind for a while. So it's like maybe it's not one individual spaceship, it's just so synchronized. So they seem very synchronized, and balls of light like this, like if they're full of fiery eyes. Their wings touched one another. The creatures did not turn when they went, but each one went straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, each had the face of a man. Each had the 4 of the 4 had the face of a lion on the right side. So that means that they are facing north, just like Ezekiel, and he's seeing their back if he's from the south. So the face of a lion's on the right side, and each of the 4 had the face of an ox on the left side. So that would be Ephraim. And each of the 4 had the face of an eagle, so that would be in front of them. Thus were their faces. So then they're facing north. Their wings stretched upward. 2 wings of each one touched one another, and 2 covered their bodies. And each one went straight forward, and they went wherever the Spirit wanted to go, and they did not turn when they went. An interesting point that someone made about a UFO, and I don't know if there's a connection at all, but it said it looked like there were wings, and so they were trying to disprove it because there were wings involved, but it could be like a wheel within a wheel, so it looks like a flapping motion, because it's this kind of technology, right? More like the spiritual manifesting maybe, but it could be wings, but not wings of a bird, because I don't think a bird reflects that much light. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, like the appearance of torches going back and forth among the living creatures. So in their midst, their eyes are moving all around, and also they seem to always be moving around like lightning, like they're in the midst of the throne and they're around the throne. So maybe he didn't see him at first. Maybe what he saw at first was the lightning, and this was the living creatures, or also there's other things involved with the lightning. The fire was bright, and out of the fire went lightning, and the living creatures ran back and forth in appearance like a flash of lightning. Now as I looked at the living creatures, behold, a wheel was on the earth, besides each living creature with its four faces. I don't know if this imagery is that of God's throne, like Zion coming down to earth, where God's throne is actually very close to earth, or if no matter the distance that they still have like this wheel connection with earth, and the wheel is full of eyes, I think. And so that's kind of how they're gazing on the earth. It says of the sun that nothing is hidden from its light. So the sun is like something like a shepherd looking over and like scrutinizing or something. The appearance of the wheels and their workings was like the color of beryl or inspecting, and all four had the same likeness. The appearance of their workings was, as it were, a wheel in the middle of a wheel. When they moved, they went toward any one of the four directions. They did not turn aside when they went. As for their rims, so it's like, boom, 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 they were so high, they were awesome, and their rims were full of eyes all around the four of them. When the living creatures went, the wheels went beside them, and when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Okay, so the wheels don't stay there. And you do see, like, the closest connection I know of is UFOs, right? Because we just don't have connections here. Is like you'd see the UFO and then the light gets bigger and then it vanishes, or you see this flash of lightning where it just goes up instantly. Wherever the spirit wanted to go, they went, because there the spirit went, and the wheels were lifted together with them, for the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. So we learned in Genesis 1 that life has a soul. So their soul, I don't know if it's word for soul here or spirit, that it's connected with the wheels. When those went, these went. When those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up together with them, for the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels. I don't know if there's a similarity with us, because if we're also seated with him in heavenly places, if we kind of got this synchronization with earth and heaven, or also with God, he sends his spirit down to earth, and these would be synchronized. The likeness of the firmament above the heads of the living creatures was like the color of an awesome crystal. So here they are under the firmament, and then they get a promotion, I guess, in Revelation, where they are seem to be on this firmament, and that they're coming now from the throne instead of under it. So it's the color of an awesome crystal stretched out over their heads, and under the firmament their wings spread out straight, one toward another. Each one had two, which covered one side, and each one had two, which covered the other side of the body. When they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of many waters, like the voice of the Almighty, a tumult like the noise of an army. And when they stood still, they let down their wings. I don't know if their eyes are each representing like somebody or something on earth, and it's this connection of being able to see like what's on earth, and this is like the heavenly version. I don't know, like, why are they full of eyes? A voice came from above the firmament that was over their heads. Whenever they stood, they let down their wings. And above the firmament, over their heads, was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like a sapphire stone. So now in Revelation, the blue, if that's the color of the sapphire, was like the one on the throne was sapphire, and probably something fiery red and not green, because here we're seeing the appearance of the one on the throne. It's like fire, red, amber. I think it said amber. And so maybe when John sees him, it looks like the one on the throne is sapphire, because I don't know if it's like intermingling at all, if the throne that he's riding is like the spirit and they intermingle, or like why is the throne now sapphire? It seems like it's three things that are mentioned in Revelation. So like the sapphire, was it like the sardis and the turquoise? Anyway, on the likeness of the throne was a likeness with the appearance of a man high above it. Also, from the appearance of his waist and upward, I saw, as it were, the color of amber. So maybe this is only like waist upward, and maybe he's kind of like see-through. So John was seeing the throne, like the legs. So maybe the bottom half looks like sapphire. All this, of course, is speculation. I wasn't there. As it were, the color of amber with the appearance of fire all around within it. And from the appearance of his waist and downward, okay, I saw, as it were, the appearance of fire with brightness all around. Does the fire look blue here? Like the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness all around it. And so we were learning about this in Revelation as well. Like when these colors are just radiating outward, they might make turquoise. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Hashem. For time, we'll probably have to save chapter 10 for another video, but I wanted to read at least one verse. So looking at 6 here, welifnei, and two faces of, or presence of, hakisa, the throne, haya, existed. So if it was high, this like life, it would be a het here, and it's a hey. So this is just for existed, like was, is. Existed yom si echad, so it would be one sea. Shell belonging to Selohis. Selohis is a flask, a bottle with a wide belly and a narrow neck. Kidmoth, like image, a halma. This has to do with wishing for, a hal, and ma is like what? And so a precious stone, but also something that is very strong, is the quality brought out here. Ubethoch, and in midst of hakisa, the throne, wesaviv, and around this bethoch, in the middle, lehakisa, to the throne, arba, 4, hayoth, living plural, melo, full, gainim, eyes, melefanihem, from two faces of them, so the presence of them before them, umeaharim, and from after or behind them. So we will get into this more. It seems very interesting, this glass ceiling. But thanks for joining, and I pray you are blessed.